Did y'all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons?
It all started with a shockwave that hit late night. Television, one of the biggest names in comedy, was suddenly silenced. Jimmy Kimmel Live, a show that has been running for decades, was abruptly suspended after Jimmy made comments about the man accused of shooting political figure Charlie Kirk. Disney, the parent company of ABC, stepped in fast. They announced that production was being halted indefinitely, sending fans and critics alike into a frenzy. For many, this wasn't just about a late night host crossing the line. It was about freedom of speech colliding head with corporate caution. Disney's official statement tried to calm the storm. They said the suspension was made to avoid inflaming an already tense and emotional situation across the country. The comments, they explained, were considered ill-timed and insensitive, so they decided to put the brakes on the show. But then, in a surprising twist, everything changed. After a series of private conversations with Jimmy, the network reversed its decision. The announcement came on September 22nd. Jimmy Kimmel Live was coming back to air, and soon. By the way, before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow and share more intriguing stories. Now, let's continue. The move raised eyebrows everywhere. Why would Disney first silence one of its biggest stars only to bring him back so quickly?
The news comes the same day the co-hosts of The View, which include Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Hines, Sunny Houston, Anna Navarro, and Alyssa Farah Griffin, broke their silence on the show being preempted following comments the comedian made.
It was clear that there was more happening behind the scenes than anyone was admitting. The drama was only just beginning when the suspension news first broke. Another storm was brewing, this time on daytime television. Women of The View, who never shy away from hot topics, stayed unusually quiet. Fans noticed right away. Why won't Whoopi Goldberg, Tsunami host Anna Navarro, Sarah Haynes, or Alyssa Farah Griffin saying anything about Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air? After all, The View has always been the place where controversies get dissected, live, unfiltered, and sometimes explosively. That silence didn't last long. When the show went live again, Whoopi wasted no time. She looked directly at the audience and fired off her opening. Did you really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? Have you been watching us the last 29 seasons?
Did y'all really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons?
Whoopi wanted it clear nobody, not Disney, not the FCC, not anyone was going to muzzle The View. She explained why they waited before jumping in. They wanted to see if Jimmy himself would speak out first. And besides, their Friday episode had been taped before the news broke. But now that they were back, Liv, the gloves were off. Whoopi even reassured fans overseas who were messaging her word that the silence meant trouble. We're still here, still broadcasting, she declared. Her tone wasn't casual, it was defiant. It set the stage for what was about to come. Next, a direct confrontation with government officials and media powerhouses who had turned Jimmy's suspension into something much bigger than just a late-night TV controversy. The fire really caught when The View turned its focus on the government's role in this mess. Whoopi made it crystal clear. The government cannot pressure networks into silencing people. That's when the show rolled a montage of some unlikely allies all agreeing on one thing. On screen were Republican senators Rand Paul and Ted Cruz alongside Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. Different parties, different politics, but united in calling out FCC. Commissioner Brendan Carr. Carr had threatened action against ABC and Disney after Kimmel's comments, but these senators said his move was flat out wrong.
So you know, no one silences us. And to all my friends in Italy who reached out, you have to know it's okay. We're still here. We're still broadcasting.
Rand Paul blasted the FCC for overstepping, saying he'd fight any attempt by the government to interfere with speech. Ted Cruz, never one to soften his words, compared it to mafia-style intimidation. He mocked Carr's stance, saying it sounded like a scene straight out of Goodfellas. Nice bar you got here. Shame if something happened to it. The crowd on The View laughed, but the message was serious. Chris Murphy, speaking from the Democratic side, didn't hold back either. He said Carr's behavior was not only inappropriate, it was unconstitutional. For once, politicians who normally clash over everything were on the same page.
And when the news broke last week about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, we took a breath to see if Jimmy was going to say anything about it first. We did the same thing with Stephen Colbert.
The FCC had crossed a dangerous line, and The View wanted everyone watching to understand just how big of a deal that was. This wasn't about defending a late-night joke. Anymore, it was about defending the right to speak without government. Threats hanging over every word. After the senator's words lit up the screen, Sunani Ho stepped in with her own take. As an attorney, she went straight to the heart of the matter, the First Amendment. She reminded everyone that free speech isn't just a talking point. It's the foundation of American democracy. The government doesn't get to pick and choose who can speak and who should be silenced.
Look, I have to tell you this. I lived through a right-wing dictatorship in Nicaragua, Somoza. I lived through a left-wing dictatorship.
But then Ana Navarro took things even further, pulling from her own life. She spoke with intensity, sharing what it was like to grow up in Nicaragua under two very different dictatorships. First, a right-wing regime under Somoza, then a left-wing one under Ortega.
In Nicaragua, under Ortega. This is what dictators and authoritarians do. It does not matter the ideology. At first, she said censorship wasn't tied to one ideology. It was a tool both sides used to crush opposition. Anna painted a chilling picture. At first, she explained regime silence, big voices, journalists, TV personalities, comedians. Then slowly they come for everyone else, scaring entire populations into silence. She warned the audience that once you start allowing the government to dictate speech, it doesn't stop. She even listed moments where the current government had tried to pressure the press, like pushing reporters out of the Oval Office or cutting funding to public broadcasters.